Okay, so in our next lecture, now going to go through the poverty estimates, and then we're going to use the Foster, Greer, and Thorbecke FGT poverty measure. And of course, here we're just noting that whenever you rerun the do file that we did generate during the first course, always make sure that if you're using hard numbers, you can just make sure that you replace the poverty line. But since now DASP has improved significantly, that now you can just put the value, the variable name, and then it will pick up the poverty value for that particular poverty line. And then again, once you have installed DASP, the way we do, for instance, if you go to user, already here it's already invoked, but usually what we do is to make sure that that DASP menu should be available for our analysis, and then all you do is to run it, and then it should be able to display. Okay, and then also if you describe district, you see that this district has got a long name. The tables that we're going to generate also, and this might also affect the structure of the table. Just want to make sure that this is just a shorter name, and then all we have to do is to relabel it. Just simply name it as district, because we're going to use the district variable a lot for us to be able to generate the poverty metrics. Okay. Now again, we already shortened these names at the beginning, and usually when if you don't want to use the command, using starter code, which to me I always recommend that learn how to use the starter code. You can always go to DASP menu, and it has a lot of statistics that you can also generate. And then here what we have is okay, how do you calculate poverty indices? And then if you want to learn a new command, all you have to do is go through the DASP menu, and then it will tell you how each and every of these commands can also be filled. Here you need to put in the welfare variable, which is the real expenditure variable. The size variable usually is the household size, and then you can also put group variables. For instance, the group variables, like what we've created already, the skills levels, household gender, etc. Right, and then put in all the parameters that you require. Here it will also tell you what will be the confidence interval, which is 95, and then also if you want to save the results in Excel, which we're going to also do, I'll show you how. You can also save it, and then we have that table that we can easily copy and paste into our report. So what I've done already is, these are the codes that you could easily generate. Once you have run that starter command, this is the the starter code that we use. Usually alpha 0 is just looking at the poverty head count. 1, it means you're looking at the poverty gap, and then 2, also look at the poverty severity that you can also use there. Okay, and then of course the DASP manual also will tell you exactly what this means. I'll let you also, because we've described this in detail in module in course 1. That is the starter programming, mastering data processing of household survey data. We've also explained what alpha 1 means, what is a poverty gap, what is a poverty severity as well. So if we can run this, simply what Stata does, this is pretty much standard way of writing it. You have the household size variable, what index we want to generate, which is the FGD, and then we have how many decimal points that we want to see. We've put this at 2 each, and then also looking at the poverty line. This is now the index that we use to measure now to demarcate the population into those who are poor and those who are non-poor. Let me just run this. In our earlier analysis, that is in Stata, in the Stata programming course, we did estimate that from the population, it's estimating that we have about 48% of the population that is poor, and then what is also critical are the inferences here. That the standard error here is 0.01. This is the t statistic, and then also looking at the p-value. What's also important is the p-value. Here it shows that this is statistically significant at the 1%, and it ranges from 0.46 to 0.5. That's the confidence interval for the estimated population or poverty parameter that we've just estimated. And also here, it will tell you what is the poverty line that we're using. In this case, it's 172,900 kwachas. And then if you look at the poverty gap, you could see that the estimate is 23%. That is 23% of these people of the population are actually below that poverty gap that have that severity. Okay, so and then you see that the p-value again is statistically significant at the 1% level, still using the 172,900 poverty line, and then also that the poverty gap, it lies within 0.21 to 0.24. So pretty much a very good data processing that we did in the first scenario. This gap is not that big, which means also gives us confidence that the metrics that we are also making projections to the population are also closer to the true mean. In terms of poverty severity, now you see that it's about 13%, and this lies between 12 and 14%. Right? We did also compute we have a variable in our database that also not look at the real expenditure aggregate based on the per share price index, but we also look at the added equivalent scales. How we construct these, always referring you to goes back to course 1, which is starter programming, and then learn how we can also construct a real expenditure aggregate or real income based on the added equivalent scales. We can also run this one, and then let's see what happens. Again, you could see that the added equivalent scales, the poverty estimate based on the added equivalent scales is a little lower than the one based on the PPI, not different though. This is 0.46. It ranges between 0.44 and 48, and then the poverty line is estimated at 122,564 kwacha. And then in terms of gap, poverty gap is 20%, also statistically significant, and in terms of the poverty severity is at 11%. Now, the use of these two measures, as we also presented in the first course, it all depends. I mean, if the policymakers want to use a lower poverty estimate, it's not, they can do that based on the added equivalent scales. They just have to say that we are now adopting a policy that we're going to measure our poverty either based on the partial price index or also based on the added equivalent scales, right? Then the other measures, what we're doing is just to look at now food poverty. This is also important. The national poverty comprises of food and non-food estimates, but here we want to see, okay, in terms of food, just looking at the food component of the poverty measure, what is the status in the economy? So again, here it will be the same income, but now we're looking at the poverty line being the ultra poverty or just the food poverty measure. Okay. If we run that, let's see how the statistics also come out. As you can see, in terms of food poverty, if we see that 35% of the population are food poor, and also this ranges from 33% to 37%, and the estimated food poverty was at 120,000 for 29, when based on the partial price index. The gap is 14%, and then the severity gap is also at 8%. All these statistics are also statistically significant at the 1% significant level. You can use the same just to estimate those based on the added equivalent scales, and what we get is now estimates that also show that if we look at the added equivalent scales, they are pretty much lower, 25% for the food poverty, 9% for the food poverty gap, and then about 4% for the severity gap. All statistics also statistically significant at the 1% level, right? So what we're going to do next is now populate these statistics into a report, and that's what we're going to do in the next lecture.